Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a rather lovely Mondeo ST TDCI to show you. Always fancied having a bit of a go in one of these. They seem like a really cool kind of cross-country mile muncher, nice torquey diesel engine, bit of power, lots of space, should be pretty comfortable. So yeah, excited to get this one out on the road, see what you guys think. The Mark III Mondeo ST TDCI, fortunately Ford didn't call it the Mondeo STD, was released in 2004 and sat alongside the V6 petrol ST220 in the Mondeo lineup at the time. While it's easy to forget as we live in a different time now, diesels were starting to take the market by storm in the early to mid 2000s, with their punchy yet fuel efficient engines and low tax rates helping to win people over in their masses. The Mondeo arrived at just the right time then, and took the fight to the sporty diesels from the usual German brands, and provided something interesting for company car drivers who were looking for something a bit different. Ford carried over the ST220's already proven chassis and suspension setup, and mated it with an enlarged 2.2 litre Duratorque common rail diesel engine, producing 153 brake horsepower as standard. Torque was where the engine really stood out though, with the diesel unit outputting 266 foot-pounds of torque and an even more impressive 295 foot-pounds of torque on overboost. To put this into perspective, the 3 litre V6 ST220 had 207 foot-pounds of torque. The engine pulls strongly from below 1500 RPM, with the overboost of 295 foot-pounds of torque kicking in at a still very low 1800 RPM. 0 to 60 was dispatched in 8.7 seconds in the standard car, not exactly rapid by today's standards, but impressive for a big family car from 2004. Being a turbo diesel, these cars also respond well to a bit of tuning. This particular car features a stage 1 map from Avon Tuning and has a printout showing 187 brake horsepower and 316 foot-pounds of torque. Not bad figures at all from a simple map. As per the rest of the Mondeo range, the car could be ordered from the factory in either hatchback form as seen here, saloon, or the rather rare estate version. The 18-inch multi-spoke alloys were also carried over from the ST220, as were the paint options, including the ST exclusive Performance Blue Metallic paint as seen here. So I've showed you around the outside of the car, let's take a look at the interior before I get it out on the road. So starting with the interior, and it's really not a bad place to be at all, especially for a 2006 car. It's pretty well appointed as standard. In this car you've got things like heated seats, you've got dual zone digital climate control, you've got cruise control, you've got your audio controls up here, you've got auto lights, electric windows all round, electric power fold mirrors, you've got an auto dimming rear view mirror up here. And yeah, it's comfortable. You've got half leather seats. There were optional Recaros, I believe, in these, which were pretty nice. You've got this kind of rather fancy looking analog clock in the middle here. It's at first glance you do think that Ford's gone and done it again and had a rather pathetic cup holder down here, and it's like kind of where's the passenger one and all of that, but lo and behold, it has a very cool cup holder down here. Where is that on my Focus RS Mark II Ford? This is like the coolest cup holder I've ever seen, and would definitely probably surprise your passenger a little bit, I'd imagine, if you whip that out. But yeah, really cool. I like that. Nice touch. Quality wise, in terms of materials, it feels about what you would expect from a Ford of this era. So you've got kind of soft touch plastics further up, and sort of venture a bit further down it's a bit hard and scratchy, but yeah, nothing wrong with it. There's a few sort of creaks, you know, now, but you know, it's done 123,000 this one, and it's what, 17 years old, so I think it's doing all right. It's not bad really. Got a little sunglasses holder up here, and yeah, you also get a nice big boot, which is great. You can get loads of luggage in there, all the kids stuff. So, driving the Mondeo ST TDCI. First impressions are really good. It's the steering's got a really nice weight to it, and now that I've been able to actually have a go at putting my foot down a little bit, it's really torquey. I mean, obviously that's to be expected. So it doesn't feel as big as I expected it to. The chassis actually feels really nice. It's definitely you can tell it's a Ford. You can tell it's an ST. Obviously this has the same suspension setup as the Mondeo ST220, just obviously with a diesel engine instead. So yeah, it feels really good. There's a nice weight to the steering as well. Gearbox feels decent. It doesn't feel as big and heavy as I expected it to. And also the seating position is good. You know, it's not, this obviously doesn't have the optional Recaros in this one, but they're half leather, they're heated. Kind of reminds me of the ST170 standard seats actually. So you've got a 2.2 TDCI unit in this car. As standard, they produce 155 brake horsepower and I think it's 266 foot-pounds of torque, but with an overboost function that takes it to 295. This particular example has actually been mapped. The owner's got a printout from Avon Tuning in Bristol. It's been on the rolling road. This one is developing 187 horsepower, I believe, and 316 foot-pounds of torque. So healthy figures, and over 300 foot-pounds of torque is, you know, not to be sniffed at. You know, I've always really fancied having a go in one of these. It's something that I actually considered as a family car a few years ago. Just kind of strikes me as a really good, comfy mile muncher with a bit of performance, loads of room. It's a massive boot on these as well. You could get it in a really rare estate form, which is pretty cool as well. And you can obviously get it in, you know, the nice full performance blue, a bit like my RS that this car is also in. You've got those nice 18-inch multi-spoke wheels. And if you go for the diesel version, you can get into the 40s on the MPG pretty easily, which, you know, considering the performance on offer is not bad. This thing is torquey. Yeah, it handles really nicely too. It feels really grippy. Steering's very direct. And you really don't need to change gear, you know, change down quite as much as you would in a similarly powered petrol car to kind of extract the most from it, which is nice. You can kind of just let the torque pull you through the corners and, you know, no need to change down. So yeah, what are we doing here? 32,000 RPM, it just wants to pick up. Obviously being a diesel, it runs out of puff pretty quickly, but you can just, you know, drop it into the next gear and just ride that kind of wave of torque, which is nice. Like I said, I couldn't see you wanting to change down that often. You know, motorways and things like that, I just don't need to. The brakes feel okay for a car of this size and age and everything, although definitely, you know, not up to kind of modern performance brake standards, but they do an alright job. Sounds alright for a diesel. Gets you up to speed nice and quickly as well. Definitely doesn't feel its size, which is really nice. I was expecting it to feel quite big and heavy, but not really. You can just dive in the corners, just let the torque pull you out. Feels really grippy as well, considering the amount of torque that's being put through the front wheels. Those 18s on the front there grip really well. I'm never kind of feeling like I'm running out of grip. Obviously that might be a different story in the wet, but yeah, certainly in the dry, feels good. I'm just getting used to not changing down so much in the corners and just being able to kind of utilise that torque, which is nice. Sticking in like 4th gear, whereas, you know, in another car it might drop down to 3rd or even 2nd in some situations. got a 6-speed box in here as well, which, you know, again, really nice mile muncher, I think. So I wouldn't say the car feels absolutely rapid, of course. You know, it's 187 horsepower, but it, you know, feels very torquey. It's surprisingly smooth for a diesel. I feel like it's definitely got enough power that you can keep up with, you know, most things on the road. It's got plenty of overtaking punch. It's a good all-round car, this is. Plus it's sensible on fuel as well, which, you know, in this day and age, it's quite happy to rev all the way around. Ride feels good. It's firm. It feels planted, but, you know, not too firm. It's certainly not crashy. It's comfortable. I'm on a B road at the minute, and it's handling, you know, potholes and minor bumps and things quite nicely without any complaints. It's a comfy place to spend time. I feel like the gearbox has got a fairly long throw to it. It feels positive. It feels nice to shift. Possibly could do with a short shifter, but yeah, maybe that's not really the kind of car it is. Is it one that you really want to hustle quite that much? No, just kind of want to sit back and enjoy that torque, really. So would I have one of these, or would I have the ST220? Well, I've not driven an ST220 yet. I'd like to go in one, just see what it's like. I think the ST220 obviously has the advantage in terms of like outright power, although not so much on the torque side of things, and then obviously the noise, you know, V6 petrol. But does it make a lot of sense today to be driving an ST220 for a car of that kind of age, era, price? It's very rare, but very expensive on tax and fuel, and probably, you know, realistically not much more performance than this, especially considering this one is matte. So this is running that stage 1 matte that I mentioned, so there's less in it, you know, in terms of power, and this is just going to be so much better on fuel and tax. I feel like it'd be quite hard to justify an ST220 over one of these, but maybe I'll have more to say on that when I've driven one. Even today, it's good looking. It doesn't look that old to me. I mean, maybe it is, you know, this is kind of my era, I guess, but I think it still looks relatively modern. You don't obviously have the kind of more modern infotainment stuff, but you know, you can put a different stereo in there quite easily. This one's already got a single DIN aftermarket unit, but you've got space for a double DIN. Stick yourself a nice touchscreen in there, job done. Tell you what, whatever magic Ford have worked with this chassis, it definitely does not feel its size. Depending on age, mileage and condition, you can actually pick these things up from a couple of grand and up now, which just seems like so much car for the money, honestly. Nice family car for someone that wants enough space to transport the kids, get all your luggage in the back, go on a nice road trip and still have a bit of performance and fun there, and get decent fuel economy. It's a good all-round package, really. So there you have it, guys. I've shown you around this Ford Mondeo Mark III ST TDCI, and I've taken you out on the road to show you what it's like to drive. I hope you found it interesting. I've really enjoyed my time with the car, and it has been interesting to finally see what these Mondeos are all about. It's safe to say I've been pleasantly surprised, with a particular highlight for me definitely being that chassis and the amount of confidence it gives you through the twisty bits, especially for a car of that size. Anyway, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next one.